Hi, my name's Caroline Keep. I was asked a couple of weeks ago by Nexus to do a series of blog posts or vlogs to talk about Maker Education. And I was delighted to say yes. So this is my first introduction blog post. And I wanted to talk a little bit about Maker Education and how you can do that and some of the things that are going to be coming up in the next vlogs. My specialty is in hands-on technology and Maker Education. I'm the director of the first School Makerspace in a school in the country at Spark Penketh. You can go follow that. And I specialise in teaching digital skills to a whole school. I'm also the new teacher of the year, and I am involved in several maker activities across the country. I'm a creator ambassador for 3D printing, and most importantly, I'm a real teacher. So I have lesson plans and I have marking and I have all the things that a real teacher feels. And I wanted to do a series of vlogs to talk about how we can implement the kind of things that are currently being used in schools. So how we go about as educators disseminating and teaching best practice lessons in hands-on technology. Quite often, I think we're finding across as a profession that we've got lots of people who are doing technology-based stuff. There's lots of technology companies. We're getting lots of technology in schools. We're always being taught that we need to teach more STEM or STEAM. And I think we're kind of getting a lot of this technology coming in. And quite often, we've got a lot of teachers who not necessarily confident in implementing it, or we find that we've got it and it sits in a box and nobody gets to use it and nobody gets to implement it, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to outreach some of the stuff that I've been making for about 10 years now. And I do it in lesson. I do it in that 50 minutes, and I do it where we put it together as a lesson plan and we run it like you would do a normal lesson. So over this series of posts, and I'm going to be doing them probably once every 2 weeks or so, I'm going to outreach all my resources, all my lessons, talk you through how exactly we implement it, talk you through the pedagogy of it, talk you through making Makerspaces, hands-on technology and how you use it, what's some of the best practices with it, and hopefully get some feedback from you guys, because obviously as teachers, we know what we're doing. So whenever I put anything out, if you pick it up and use it, feedback, tell me what's going on with it. Tell me whether it worked with your class, whether it didn't. I outreach is a part of a digital Spark pathway that does this for a whole school, whole 1,500-ish kids. So to do that, our resources have got to be accessible. They've got to be cheap. They've got to be good. They've got to be reusable. They can't be something that we only implement with a top set class just once, in a term. It's got to be repeatable stuff for us. So one of the things I'm going to do is make sure that all of the things that I talk about can be the sort of thing that you could learn and then continuously implement. That means, say you want to run a robotics, we talk about what's the best robotics kit. We talk about exactly what's the best one to get that you could implement. And I taught you through how to do that so you could implement it with not just one or two classes, but with everybody. I'm a big fan to be a teacher. I enjoy being a teacher. But I think in our pursuit of educational technology, I think we've forgotten quite often that we should be leading it. Teachers should be leading it. We're the expert in teaching and in our subjects. So one of the things I want you to do is think very closely over these next couple of weeks when I do this, is to take ownership of this. This is your thing. We are feeling the implementation of technologies in our schools, and it's very much led from a educational technologies company's point of view, which I do plenty of outreach to technology firms. However, I think we've got to remember that we're the customer in this. And actually, we know our classes and our kids better than anybody. And we know what works for them, what doesn't work for them, and the pedagogy to go behind it. So I want you to really think about, during this time, taking up EdTech as your own. Make it so that it is in school, so that it is not something that's produced and bought in, but something that you direct and that you lead as a teacher, regardless of subject. So you'd sit there and you think, oh God, she's, technology in general. I'm actually not computing. So I'm physics. And that gives me a particular angle to look at all the STEM. So I do a lot in computing, but my specialty is a physics teacher. So this is not something that any teacher in any subject can't implement. And that's the kind of things that you want to do to embed it. So a little bit about my setup in my school. So I'm at Spark Penkers. I'm at Penker High School, and we have a makerspace. We have the first makerspace in the country. So first off, what's a maker and what's a makerspace? Makers are people who build things, is pretty much the very baseline. Anything of any variety. Quite often it's linked to STEM or STEAM in some kind of, bigger kind of look at it where you do projects. Things like robotics come in makerspaces, things like Raspberry Pi, Arduinos, things like 3D printing. Makerspaces are all over the US. They have, and all over a lot of the other countries. They have them en masse in schools, in libraries, and they enable students to experiment, to iterate the things that they are building, to learn new skills, to fail, to do all of those growth mindset skills that we really want them doing. Makerspaces are a space, or even a roll-on space, of any variety that you set up to have that ethos. So anybody can set up a makerspace, and I'm encouraging every teacher to do so. You can have one that just rolls on and roll off. You can have a maker club. You can have a makerspace that comes on and is implemented in a bigger area, in a bigger zone. Or you could have one that you just pop up, run for a couple of weeks, and then pull down. Generally, they have a name. So ours is Spark. Spark at Penketh is ours. Each makerspace has its own identity. They have makerspaces across the country in industry. They're often used for incubators for things like startups and digital startups. I'm part of one in Liverpool that's called Does. And they are the kind of space that technology companies or digital companies go into, and kind of people work together from different disciplines to make it. So it's very cross-curricular. Why is it important for kids to do this? And why would you want to? It's a great way to embed STEAM education. It's a great way to embed digital industry 4.0 skills. And it's a great way to let your kids experiment, take ownership of their learning, and for you to engage in that kind of educational facilitating of learning. So there's loads of projects that we've run out of Spark. At the moment we've been running what's called a rapid prototyping with every kid in the school, teaching them how to code on microbits, how to build with a microbit, how to do some basic coding, how to make things they'd want to. It's a very simple build. I've tried to keep as many of my builds as simple as possible for educators so they can get the most educational benefit from them, and make them so that they're quite cheap. So, that's one of the builds that I'll be talking through. We do stuff with Raspberry Pi, we do stuff with Arduino, we do stuff with drones, we do stuff with robotics. Ours is quite a tech-heavy makerspace, quite a digital makerspace. But there's other makerspaces that are out there that are very arty, or that are very craft-based, or look at different ways of doing things. So really, this is just kind of an introduction chat to a series that I'm going to be running. Over the year, I'm going to hope to talk you through builds. How would you go about doing that? What's the pedagogy behind it? I do educational research, so what's the educational research behind it? Exactly what you could get out of doing this particular build. And try and talk it in a simplistic way so that you can get to grips with it as an educator. And also do some outreaching. I'm going to show you my space, going to show you my school space, going to talk with some of our students, going to talk with some leading industry makers, going to have a kind of program that builds up some confidence in making. Making's a really specific skill for young people to get. We're spending 900 million on educational technology. We want to know as educators that that money is well spent, that it's something that can be, implemented whole school. And also, the change in job market is quite pronounced now. So we've got to be getting our young people having jobs that are, and having skills for those jobs that are changeable, we want them to be confident in the digital age of going forward and what they want to learn and what they want to pursue, and expose them to as many of the ranges of jobs as that we can, so that we can enthuse them, encourage them, and get behind them. And also lead in that process, so that we know that we can implement that to all of our children. I'm really pleased to be part of Nexus. I'm really pleased with the ethos, so that we've got, it free as a platform that teachers can engage with, and basically so that teachers can have this opportunity to have this discussion. I'm going to be putting them out every 2 weeks, in various different settings, so that you can see some of the things that we're going to be doing, and so that you can pick up some stuff. If you've not checked out the other Nexus videos, please do. They are things like NQT tips has been great, and various other videos that are out there. And I'm hoping that I'll see you soon. Get on board for our series in Maker Education and Maker Ed. Thanks very much, and please tune in the future, and we'll have a good chat about it. Thanks very much. Bye.